Hi guys, here's video 2 for section 2.6, day 2. We are still solving rational inequalities. For example number 3, we have a little bit of work to do before we can find our before we can find our x-intercepts. We need to set it equal to 0, so we're going to subtract 3 from both sides. So I've got x plus 32 over x plus 6 minus 3. Now, in order to make this into one fraction, I need a common denominator. For this case, my common denominator is going to be x plus 6, which means I've got x plus 32, and then to go from 1 to x plus 6, my common denominator, I had to multiply by x plus 6. So I need to multiply the negative 3 times x plus 6. So this is going to be x plus 32. Distributing the negative 3, I get negative 3x. Negative 3 times 6 is negative 18, all over x plus 6. And then we're going to combine like terms. So x minus 3x is negative 2x. 32 minus 18 is 14. And then last step, so we can find that x-intercept a little bit easier, is going to factor out my GCF, which would be negative 2. I get x minus 7 left over. And then all of that over x plus 6. So my vertical asymptote is just going to be x is equal to negative 6. My x-intercept is going to be what makes this 0. So think of it this way. Some of you guys are asking, isn't it also x equals 0? Because it's just 7, 0. Keep in mind, this negative 2 doesn't have an x by it, so I can divide off that negative 2, and I just get this linear equation. In other words, if you plugged in 0 into here, you'd have 0 minus 7. Negative 7 times negative 2 would be positive 14. That does not equal 0. 7 is your only x-intercept. All right, putting those two on a number line, I get negative 6, 7. I've got an asymptote at negative 6 and an intercept at 7. Let's test some numbers, and we're going to plug it into this equation here. So if I go less than negative 6, so say negative 7 minus 7 would be a negative number, times the negative 2 would be positive, over negative 7 plus 6, so positive, over negative 7 plus 6 is negative, positive divided by negative is negative. Between negative 6 and 7 would be 0. Plugging 0 into this guy, I get 0 minus 7 is negative, times negative is positive. On the bottom, 0 plus 6 would be positive. Positive divided by positive is positive. And bigger than 8, 8 minus 7 is positive times negative is negative. And 8 plus 6 is positive. Negative divided by positive is negative. All right, so we're asking, when is this guy less than or equal to 0? So these are my two negative intervals. So from negative infinity to negative 6, not including the negative 6 because we have an asymptote. And then from 7 to infinity, including the 7, because that is an x-intercept. In other words, at that point, the y is equal to 0. All right, for our u-tries, same scenario here. I've got x plus 68, and then I'm going to subtract off 5 and multiply it by my common denominator, which is x plus 8. If you want to skip straight to this step on your test, you're more than welcome to do so. Now I'm going to distribute by negative 5. So x minus 68 minus 5x. Minus 5 times 8 is negative 40, all over x plus 8. Combining like terms, x minus 5x is negative 4x. Negative 68. Sorry. Oh, I've done something wrong. Oh, this is supposed to be positive. That's why I'm not getting the answer I got in class. X plus 68, I just didn't make that positive. So 68 minus 40 would be positive 28, all over x plus 8, greater than or equal to 0. All right, factoring out my GCF, that would be negative 4. And I get x minus 7, coincidentally enough, in the numerator. It won't always be x minus 7. So my vertical asymptote is that x is equal to negative 8. My x-intercept would be at 7, 0. Putting those guys on a number line, I've got negative 8 and 7. Plugging in something less than negative 8, so negative 9. Negative 9 minus 7 is negative, times negative would be positive. Negative 9 plus 8 is negative. Positive divided by negative is negative. Between negative 8 and 7 is 0. 0 minus 7 is negative times negative is positive on top. 0 plus 8 is positive on bottom. Positive divided by positive is positive. And then bigger than 8, 8 minus 7 is positive times negative is negative on top. 8 plus 8 is 16 positive. Negative divided by positive is negative. They want to know where we greater than or equal to 0. I'm positive between negative 8 and 7. I forgot to do my closed and open circle. So my vertical asymptote is at negative 8, so I'm not going to include that guy. And my x-intercept is at 7, so we are going to include 7. All right, moving on to our last example, and arguably one of the harder ones. Still go through the same steps. I need to move this guy over to the other side. So I get negative 10 over x minus 5 plus 11 over x minus 6 is greater than or equal to 0. My common denominator for these two fractions is x minus 5 times x minus 6. So to go from this denominator to my common denominator, I multiply times x minus 6. So I've got negative 10 times x minus 6. To go from my second denominator to my common denominator, I multiply by x minus 5. So I need to multiply 11 times x minus 5. All right, distributing. I get negative 10 times x is negative 10x. Negative 10 times negative 6 is positive 60. 11 times x is 11x, and 11 times negative 5 is negative 55. All over my common denominator. All right, and finally combining like terms, negative 10 plus 11x would be x. 60 minus 55 is 5. All over x minus 5, x minus 6. So my vertical asymptotes are x equals 5 and x equals 6. My x-intercept is negative 5, 0. Putting these guys on a number line, I get negative 5, 5, and 6. And then we're going to test our intervals. So less than negative 5 would be negative 6. Negative 6 plus 5 is negative. Negative 6 minus 5 is negative. Negative 6 minus 6 is negative. Negative times negative would make this positive. Negative divided by positive is negative. Between negative 5 and 5 is 0. So this would be positive divided by negative times negative. Negative times negative is positive. Positive divided by positive is positive. Between 5 and 6 would be 5.5. So 5.5 plus 5 is positive. 5.5 minus 5 is positive, but 5.5 minus 6 would be negative. So positive times negative is negative. Positive divided by negative is negative. And finally, bigger than 6 would be 7. 7 plus 5 is positive. 7 minus 5 is positive. 7 minus 6 is positive. Positive is positive, positive divided by positive is positive. I feel like that's a tongue twister. All right, so we have our intervals. Our asymptotes are 5 and 6 with an x-intercept at negative 5. We want to know when is this guy greater than or equal to 0. So I'm positive between negative 5 and 5. I can't include 5 because there's a vertical asymptote there. And then I'm positive from 6 to infinity. And again, I can't include 6 because there's a vertical asymptote at that one as well. All right, last problem for the U-try. Again, I'm going to move this guy over. My common denominator, hopefully you see, is x plus 7 times x plus 8. I'm going to multiply the negative 3 times the x plus 8. This is when I move it over, it's going to be positive 4 times the x plus 7. Distributing it, I get negative 3x minus 24 plus 4x plus 28 all over the common denominator. Combining our like terms, negative 3x plus 4x would be x. 28 minus 24 is 4 all over x plus 7, x plus 8. Vertical asymptote is going to be x equals negative 7, x equals negative 8. My x-intercept is at negative 4, 0. So on my number line, I've got negative 8, negative 7, and negative 4. Asymptotes at negative 8, negative 7. We'll circle at negative 4. Testing something less than negative 8, so negative 9. Negative 9 plus 4 would be negative. Negative 9 plus 7 is negative. Negative 9 plus 8 is negative. Negative times negative is positive on the bottom. Negative divided by positive would be negative. Between negative 7 and negative 8 would be negative 7.5. Negative 7.5 plus 4 is negative. Negative 7.5 plus 7 would be negative. Negative 7.5 plus 8 would be positive. So negative times positive is going to be negative. Negative divided by negative is going to be positive. Between negative 7 and negative 4, we can do negative 5. Negative 5 plus 4 is negative. On the bottom, negative 5 plus 7 is positive. Negative 5 plus 8 is positive. Positive times positive would be positive. And then negative divided by positive would be negative. And finally, when we're bigger than negative 4, so 0. 0 plus 4 is positive. Positive times positive on the bottom is positive. Positive divided by positive is positive. They want to know this time when are we less than or equal to 0. So these are my negative intervals between negative infinity, negative 8, not including the asymptote at negative 8. And then between negative 7, not including that, to negative 4, which is an x-intercept, so I will include that one. And that is part 2 of section 2.6, day 2. If you have any questions, feel free to email me. I will be back in class on Thursday.